Hello heathens, my name is Happy Viking, and welcome to Frothy Pint of Metal, a show where I take a look at the young and unsung rock bands of the day and give them the attention they deserve. Now, the last time you saw me, I was talking about a band that played soothing religious music inspired by the ragas of India. Well, today I'm going to do a 180 and pull out of the east and head up north, because we are making a headlong foray into the heathen lands of my ferocious forefathers, traveling deep into the black and haunting realms of Dark Forest. Hailing from the furthest and most foreboding Northland in the grim and frost-bitten hellscape known only as Alberta, Canada, Dark Forest is the brainchild of one David Parks and no one else. Live musicians notwithstanding, this is a one-man operation, but it has the strength of 10 men, the talent of 5, and the girth of 3.5. Oh, he had intended to have a full band, but apparently no one in Calgary had the sheer sack to hack it out like lumberjacks and help the good Mr. Parks bring his vision to fruition. There were no driven musicians with the bitchin' ambition to pitch in and accept their black metal mission, a mission to create and proliferate some profoundly pagan soundscapes of such scale and grandeur that even the most robust and sturdy of motherfuckers would lose themselves in it. So David realized that when you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. So he did, and I think the results speak for themselves. Hey! As you can clearly see, even by his lonesome, David Parks has the stones to rock out and rack up some sick tracks about a whack of cool kick-ass cultural topics. That being the somber beauty of the northern wilderness and the hell-raising heathens who hail from it. Because that's what Dark Forest is all about. It's about immersing the listener in a badass time period full of war, wonder, blood, and thunder. Especially the newest album, which is built thematically around the Norse exploration of the Americas. Groovy. See, this is a far better way to teach people about their heritage than those fucking PSAs you see on TV all the time. I mean, sure, I know Canada invented basketball and Superman, but only because they wanted to create something else as good as Dark Forest. And Superman sucks ass anyway. Big blue Boy Scout that people think is so great, but all it takes to beat him is a fucking rock. Which is really weird because, as this show has objectively proven, rock typically makes people stronger. I mean, sure, he can fly and shoot eye lasers and stuff, but can he write hard and heavy songs about Norse mythology? Hell no. But David Parks sure fucking can.
Hail to the northern sky, home of the once before, shine a brightest star.
David Parks rocks it out loud and does his pagan brothers proud, even though David Parks is the least pagan name imaginable. It's an irrelevant point, but he sounds less like a guy who torches homesteads and more like a guy who sells them. Less like an axe slayer and more like a taxpayer. You'd think that with black metal's track record of ridiculously evil stage names like Count Grishnak, Shagrath, and Nocturno Culto, David Parks could do a little better than David Parks. I don't know, maybe his birth name is Loki Christfucker and he just felt like bucking the trend. But getting back on track here, even though his name may be vanilla, the band still keeps shit dark and rich like chocolate, a far superior flavor. describe the emotions he wanted Dark Forest to evoke, David Parks simply replied, "Serenity." Not something you'd hear often regarding black metal, but it describes the sound of the band surprisingly well. But it's not that Buddhism Dalai Lama kind of serenity, it's the kind of serenity an old hermit in the woods gets from years upon years of punching trees, punching rocks, hunting foxes with his bare hands, and hunting bears with his fox hands. It's a wilder and more primal kind of serenity. And indeed, along with the cavernous drumming and visceral rasping that all combine to make you want to jack your head back and forth like a bowsaw gutting its way through a primeval pine tree, Dark Forest has a mystical ambiance to it thanks to its delicate mixing and astute use of keyboards. The only real downside to the band is the lack of personnel. But the obvious upside of being a one-man operation is that you have complete creative control. You don't have to deal with a bunch of other creative people trying to undermine you and assert their own creative visions, because there's only one vision, and it's all yours. Unfortunately, when you lack manpower, you also lack a steady flow of new ideas. Two heads are better than one, they say, because it's hard for one man to come up with unique arrangements for 5 instruments over 10 songs. It's even harder when some of these songs are over 7 minutes long. So you may run into some recycling, and some reviewers have stated that Dark Forest can get repetitive over time. Well, maybe a little. As I said, some of the songs are a bit long. But even if some of its motifs and melodies seem a mite monotonous, Dark Forest is still bewitching and beguiling because its biggest boon, its ambiance and power to evoke feelings of fear and wonder, never gets old. In summary, Dark Forest gives me wood. Okay, maybe it's just me and my backwards Viking culture, but I interpret getting erections over quality heavy metal as a compliment, much like belching after a fine meal, or getting an erection after a fine meal. And I've had a wide and eclectic collection of erections given to me by many various metals. I've had rock cocks, prog logs, folk spokes, power towers, stoner boners, and even the fabled thrash wang. But it appears that once you go black, you never go back. In all seriousness, Dark Forest is extremely good. I was hooked on its sound the second I heard it, which had to have been over 6 or 7 years ago. David Parks planted a seed in my ear canal and it grew into a mighty tree with firm roots. It may not be the most prolific band, but it never leaves your head, and you wouldn't want it to either. So reach deep into your wallet and get yourself some Dark Forest. Seriously, do it. Because if you don't get Dark Forest, the Dark Forest is gonna get you. So yeah, purchase that shit. Dark Forest is fucking radical. I give it a fuck out of yeah. Buy it now. I'm Happy Viking, and you've just been served a frothy pint of metal. Rock on and drink responsibly.